Hey, welcome back to Driver 88. You know that here on this channel we love Porsche as well. We have something quite unique and special. This is the Renner Speedster, and in our opinion this could potentially be the next singer from down here in Melbourne, Australia. We're going to talk to the founder and owner of Renner, talking about the entire build and I guess technical chat of this thing built from the ground up. This is going to be a bit of a longer video where we have a bit of a discussion around engineering, the attention to detail, interior, lots of carbon, engine, chassis, dynamics. Let's go meet Jason. So here with Jason, the owner of Renner Auto. Thanks very much for hosting us today.
Pleasure,
this place
no problem.
Looks incredible, as you'll see from all the B-roll and the amazing stuff around us. Give me, I guess, a top-line viewpoint of Renner Auto. What's the inspiration behind this place, and what do you aim to create?
Yeah, look, we really are taking cars from the 50s, 60s, and retaining all of that charm that they possess from that golden era of vehicle design, but underneath injecting all modern technology, modern manufacturing techniques to ensure vehicles are accurate, reliable, high performance, but they have all of those aspects that people love about old vehicles. So that's really the defining overview of the type of vehicle we pursue here. Yeah.
Cool. We're going to talk about the Renner Speedster, which is behind us, in incredible all-carbon body. Where did the business sort of start?
Yeah, really, it started, I was always producing my own cars, building a GT40, working on 911s, just for my own personal gratification, really. I'm a mechanical engineer by degree, which means I can overcomplicate anything. But the reality was I was building my own cars, and I thought, look, I always wanted a 356, but I wanted a vehicle that wasn't a 356 underneath. So I thought, I'm going to build some of these. And one thing led to another, orders came through, and the business has just grown. I think we're in an age of people really liking those old vehicles, but not the old tech behind them. The
original car from the 40s, you're talking about like a 1.1 litre.
Yeah, the 50s had like a 1600, if you were lucky, and 70 horsepower, 60 horsepower, less in some variants. A basic gearbox. It was a charming car. It's still a beautiful car.
Yeah.
It's a sort of car that you maintain momentum to drive. They're not high horsepower, all the rest, but they're a beautiful car. These days, with the technology we have, we can sort of step it up massively. That Gen 1 car that we produced was still produced with the same approach that we have today. It was a full custom vehicle system underneath. It wasn't a Volkswagen Pan or anything like that. So it's a highly engineered system with all custom suspension, A-arm front suspension, semi-trailing rear, same engine we have today, but it had a composite body, but it wasn't carbon. So we took the opportunity to really go back to the drawing board and design from scratch that whole car over again. The main changes were driven for the ease of manufacturing, so we could increase volume because we have a very good order book, and really making sure that we could scale the business. I think that was a real push behind Gen 2.
Next thing I want to see, of course, is this tub. You can imagine the rigidity improvements across that original sports car, and then performance is a massive increase while having all the charm of, I guess, an old sports car. Let's have a look at the chassis that you've created first.
Yeah, sure.
Everything here looks pretty bespoke to me. What can you tell me about this first initial process?
Yeah, it's a ground up design. So we start with nothing. We have CAD designed this whole semi-unibody system. So it's all laser cut, CNC folded sheet steel. Some parts are actually pressed, some of them are curved, etc. So there's a bit of investment in areas on parts. But the key factor really was not only torsional rigidity for performance, but to adhere to the original car's interior profiles, so that when the car's carpeted and trimmed, the interior contours match the original car. So it's not just as important to have the old style outside, but when you hop in, it's the same carpet, seam lines. That was really what was key to us. And that, to meet today's side intrusion collision requirements, etc., there was a lot of what we call FEA, finite element analysis, done on this system to ensure it was rigid, performed in side intrusion the way it needed to, but had all of those key attributes. The shifter mechanism, how that operates through the car, that was so specific for us that this is all custom made. We CNC all of the shifter mechanism, all the lever systems, everything's custom down to the gear knobs are all 3D printed.
Yeah.
But incorporated into that is, dual master cylinder tilt and underfloor race systems. So that's pretty much a race pedal setup.
That's awesome. I see lots of kit cars out there, resto mods and stuff, but this is just so many more levels beyond that.
Yeah, it's really a highly developed custom car. Because it's not a one-off car, we can invest so much time into engineering all of those custom attributes that you get a real high quality, reliable, well sorted package. Because if you're doing a one-off car, I mean, you can't spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on CAD design and all those things. Correct. So it's this low volume approach to this vehicle system has been excellent for us.
So we were talking before the rigidity of your Renner Speedster against, say, the original Speedster from the 50s. What sort of multiples are we talking about, roughly?
I haven't bent or torsionally tested an original car, and those cars in the 50s were quite advanced, really.
For their time,
Yeah, the Germans invested a lot of time in their design, and we've had original cars in here, like this one here, and it's given us the opportunity to understand, really how clever some aspects of that car were.
Yeah.
They obtained a lot of rigidity in the sills, and the sills were quite large, and we've really replicated that. We've actually got stronger sills, but those original cars, the convertibles, the Speedsters, were probably nowhere near as rigid as this. But then you've got to remember also, it was only a 700 and something kilogram vehicle system with 50, 60 horsepower.
Yeah.
It really didn't stress out. And the tyres were a lot narrower. They were a 4.5 inch wide rim. So your traction wasn't there. So all of those things don't really stress the vehicle system. So they're well suited for what they are. But when you go and put just under, about 300 horsepower in, and then everything has to change.
Absolutely.
Everything has to move with it.
Hardware-wise, what gearbox are we running?
We run a modified 5-speed Subaru gearbox with custom gear sets, custom ring and pinion with a limited slip differential. So it uses a Torsen type LSD.
And can you work with a customer to have it sort of set everything the way that they would like it to some extent? Or?
In gear ratios, I'll say no, because we have to do compliance testing on certain things. We try and keep powertrain stable. We keep suspension default settings stable, so that when we do all of the testing that we apply for the vehicle system over the manufacturing run, those things we don't change. There are things that the client, they've got adjustable coilovers, so post-delivery they can, and the sway bars and things like that.
Cool.
But from a powertrain point of view, it's really been optimised for the weight, with the car being around 950 kilos.
That was my next question.
Yeah. We've got a different ratio there because it's quite a light car compared to where that gearbox came from.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing. You think of sports cars today, they're like, now a light sports car is now like 1,450 kilos.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, the next thing we'll look at is the engine in the back and what sort of ratios we're talking, because I think the original Speedster was about 50 horsepower. We're talking 300 now, so maybe let's walk around the back.
Yeah, sure.
So the business end of the Renner Speedster looks quite a dense package, obviously a flat 4, but we have a turbo on this car.
Correct. Look, we had to use a flat 4 because that's what the originals had.
Of course.
And your choices in flat 4 modern emissions compliant engines are pretty slim.
Yeah.
There is no Porsche flat 4 emissions compliant. You can't run an air-cooled Volkswagen engine or anything like that. It will not pass the emissions that we need to pass for 2026, 2027. So we start with a brand new EJ25 short block from Subaru, and these engines are built up with brand new parts. You can't buy a crate engine from Subaru.
Okay.
So it is a whole build process.
Yeah.
But this is a 2.5 litre turbocharged intercooled Subaru engine.
Mm-hmm. And how much modification are you having to make to, I guess, with heat sort of,
Yeah.
Potential issues, or with just packaging? Are you making sort of big changes with it, or?
Exhaust system is obviously very different because of the packaging.
Yeah.
And you'll see that from underneath. We run a custom downpipe. We still run a standard VF35 turbo, ceramic coated, etc. So from a heat point of view, everything's ceramic coated. The main turbo, exhaust side, and the whole downpipe, uppipe, all of that stuff is ceramic and custom built. They obviously run on a Haltech ECU, an R3.
So you can tune it the way you
So
like.
it's all fully tuned. We have a tuner here in Melbourne.
Sure.
They are a variable cam engine. They have AVCS. So these engines have a lot of torque, being turbocharged. And with the AVCS, it helps at low revs as well.
I'm just thinking of the experience without having a roof, without having this performance, just the responsiveness. It's going to be a fun car to drive, more than fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with less mass. Our Gen 1 cars were a little heavier. It wasn't a carbon body. And there were different construction techniques in the chassis system. Yeah. So, you're saving around 200 kilo in this car. And the Gen 1, the first Gen 1s had no AVCS, the first 4. Okay. When AVCS came through, the variable cam timing, it gave a lot more torque. And with this much, saving in mass, it's going to be a hell of a lot better. But heat management, you alluded to, is another issue with regards to where's the radiator. Yeah. So we work closely with PWR in Queensland. Cool. And they help us with all of the radiator systems and intercooler systems. So we run a water-to-air intercooler. There's a barrel cooler just up the back here, which is, again, nothing crazy. These cars have had crazy air-to-air intercoolers in Rexes and all the rest. Yep. But the water-to-air gives us the opportunity really to put the radiator in a practical position, which is located over here. Yeah, I can see. So we're pulling in cold air from under the rear wheel arch. And Gen 2 also has a cold air intake, whereas our first gens had the intake here. So we'd get a bit of heat soak. Yeah. But again, these things have so much performance that it's not an issue. No. It's just, if you're redesigning, you go for the max that you can. Sure. And you'll see the package, the cooling package and the cooling system underneath. That took a lot of work to get to operate really well. But the engines are pretty standard. They're not a crazy modified engine. Yeah, you're not needing to when you've got this much rigidity and lightweight. Maybe we could see underneath it. Yeah, sure. Some suspension we'll lift
brakes.
it up.
So we're underneath, obviously, the Speedster. There's some really, really pretty suspension under here. Cool. It looks fantastic. What can you tell me, I guess, about the front suspension and brakes? Yeah, so as we really cut our teeth on our Gen 1 with a double A-arm coilover front. Yeah. So, majority of these cars, again, if they're based on a Volkswagen, they have a beam, torsion bar system. Proper old school. Old school stuff. And we've never done that. We've always had a custom system. We have a full CNC A-arm, lower arm that we've developed, gone through all the structural analysis, all the rest on that, which is not insignificant, I must say. I bet. Custom uprights, forged upper control arm. And then our partner Shockworks, who were with us on the first Speedsters, are providing all the coilovers for this. But we've now got a front sway bar at the front, but this A-arm suspension, excellent bump characteristics. We've worked very hard on everything, Ackerman, toe, to get the right steering feel. It's a lovely tunable system. Yeah. It's too pretty to put under the car. They're all CNC, water blasted, anodized. That's beautiful. They look great on the shelf, and it's a shame to bolt them up under here. Yeah. I wanted every spacer a different color so that you could see when you're doing your wheel alignment exactly where you were headed. So it's a beautiful performance system. Fantastic. What can you tell me about the brakes? Yeah, so we're running an ADR compliant Willwood caliper, a 6-pot front caliper. And our front rotors, in a 15-inch rim, you're really pushing space. But we're running about a 290 millimetre disc in that. Yeah, which is a nice thick vented disc. So around the world, no one's doing this in a Speedster, and definitely not in a recreation vehicle of this type. I've got a GT40, it's got massive brakes and all the rest, but it's what you expect. But in this car, it's a really neat attribute, to be honest. You can't have too much braking. No, these are a Pirelli CN36 tyre, a great tyre, but it's probably a fairly big braking package for a 185 15-inch tyre. But we
We really wanted to have a non-power assisted pedal. Our previous cars had a little smaller brakes and we have boosters, but we wanted to move to a non-boosted pedal to get pedal feel back. So a big function on making sure you've got a pedal feel that isn't too heavy, because people today, everything's boosted. Yeah. So you get in a new Merc or you get in any car and you're just touching the pedals.
Yeah, you're not feeling really the road either.
Yeah, correct. Like you take an early 911, which was, a car I had, and, they were non-boosted, they were a lot lighter, and we really wanted to get back to that non-boosted approach. So, 6-pot front, 4-pot rear, fairly large rotors in the back because the engine's in the back, and you get a lot of traction in the back because you've got a lot of weight on the rear tyres.
Sure.
So in a front engine car, you have big brakes. In a rear engine car, you can have slightly bigger brakes in the rear. But yeah, it's a good braking package.
What about the steering rack and system there?
So it's rack and pinion, which is what everyone uses today. Previously, they were not a rack and pinion in an original Speedster. We've optimised the position of those, again, for bump steer and obviously for turns lock to lock. We don't have a slow rack, but again, we don't have a very fast rack. It's not a race car. It is, a car to enjoy driving on lovely roads. And what you can see is really the packaging up here with regards to the PWR radiator system, putting that in the front of the car without vents in the front of the car.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, a lot of cars have frontal area. They're pushing through a grille.
Yep.
So we worked really hard with them in speccing the right PWM, pulse width modulated spiral fan system, so that the ECU, Haltech, can speed up and control that fan in conjunction with this water pump here from Davies Craig.
Okay.
So we accelerate water flow through an auxiliary pump, obviously to cool the engine, and in concert with the fan, what we achieve is a vehicle, when you come to a stop, you don't hear fans screaming, because that's important as well. This was an air-cooled car, so you don't really want to hear radiators running all the time, or fans running all the time. So packaging all that with a condenser for the AC in a really tight package
so much
is a heap of fun.
So much time and effort must
a lot of engineering. We use a lot of VR, so you can put VR, we design these and we get in VR, and we have a look spatially on how things are. So we're using a lot of latest tech, which is a lot of fun. But it's really serviceability as well. There's a whole plumbing system that just comes in that's pre-tested, all in stainless steel, that's lifted up into this cavity and then a cover's put on it, so that everything can be maintained, checked, and really makes production of this thing pretty fast.
Another thing that's just so crazy with modern cars is how difficult it is to access anything.
Yeah.
Everything's in a difficult place to get to, and this just is it's just the benefits of old and new at the same time, which is really impressive.
Yeah, and the engine just comes out through the bottom like a normal Porsche, really. We drop it down. We've got water lines to obviously brake, which they don't have in a lot of air-cooled cars. But, and that's why even in the rear, using a 964 derivative suspension, so we laser scan 964s, really a gold standard in early air-cooled handling. So we used laser scans of an original 964, looked at that geometry and adopted that in the rear to make sure that we get the type of performance we're looking for.
Cool.
Pretty exciting, really.
Next thing I want to look at, of course, is the beauty, the body, all the carbon. Let's have a look at the shell of it, because it looks incredible.
It does look great.
When we first walked in, obviously our jaws were dropped by this incredible looking carbon shell against the gold Speedster. It just looks fantastic.
Yeah.
I think if I ordered a car off you, I would have it just like this. Call me like, I don't know, too modern, but I just think it looks so cool.
We will never produce a bare carbon fibre Speedster. It just doesn't, in my opinion, suit the aesthetic of the car. It does look impressive, but apart from it being an absolute nightmare to align all the weave, I mean, there's some absolute masters out there now that do it. I'm sure you see a lot of
Paganis and Koenigseggs.
It's unbelievable. It's next level. So I don't want that hassle.
What can you tell me about your development of this?
Yeah, look, we're super proud of this. It's not something that you embark on lightly.
No.
So what you'll see a bit later is the digital design that's behind this. This is not just a mould off a production car or an old car. This is starting from scratch and designing every surface from scratch to be like the original car, but heavily optimised. So all of the shadow lines, all of the curves, all that A-class surfacing, they call it, is absolutely perfected in the computer. We then go to large format 3D printing, which you'll see. We 3D print large bucks, and then we get those perfectly finished by our paint partners, and then go through a tooling process to generate carbon fibre tools to produce these pre-preg carbon fibre panels. By pre-preg, that's latest tech. It's what everyone uses today. Ferrari, Lamborghini, it's the top of the tree, and we're so proud of the outcome. You know, it's fitting together beautifully. There's about, I think, 18 or so panels. So it's quite a lot. It's not just what you see here. It's a lot of what we call B-surface panels. So under the guards, inner guards, it's all carbon. So
there's a piece over there. We'll have a look.
Yeah.
And this piece here is about 30 kilos. Did you
So
say?
we're weighing each separate bit. But if you look at the whole back of the car, which you can see one up there, that was 8 kilo.
Wow.
You know, which is, I mean, everyone knows carbon's light. But it's when you grab it, you know, because very rarely do you grab a panel. And like we were used to the composite cars, hey, we need to move this, you know, whereas this one here, you just pick it up on your own. You know, it is super surprising. I know it's obvious to everyone, but when you start living it. But the journey to get here is both, you need a lot of dedication and it ain't cheap.
I bet.
You know, all the tooling. And this is done in Australia. So here in Melbourne, which is also, you know, a great thing, local suppliers.
And this car obviously will look entirely different when it's finished. Most of your customers, I'm assuming, you're going for like traditional.
Correct. We
Speedster
really
colours?
do mandate as well that
That's
we do
right.
want to use original Porsche colours. You know, part of the charm on these cars is the colour choice. And the client of this car has chosen one of the original green colours, which we haven't done yet, which is a really unique interior colour, which is a slight change from where they were. So it's like a maroony colour, so a green, and it's going to be an absolute stunner. I mean, we're so excited to see the finish.
So what can you tell me about the interior? Obviously, I see an incredible carbon seat here. You're offering all sorts of different interior choices from leathers and trims and stuff like that?
Yeah, but again, you know, the carpet that was used in the period was a square weave, German square weave carpet, and it was a multicoloured type carpet, and so...
That's what will be.
We use that colour, or those carpets, and we do the same stitching, the same seams. All of that interior treatment is exactly like it was. You know, they have a rubber floor. They didn't have carpet on the floor. So they have rubber mats on the floor. You got to remember the Speedster was the budget car. You know, back in the day.
It's funny, I read that not long ago too, is that like the Speedster with the smaller window and the less options, the fastest car was, these days you pay more for less if you want to limit.
And you didn't back then,
no,
but you now do. The Speedsters are worth a lot more than the Roadsters as an original vehicle. They're just so beautiful. And I think there's so little in this interior that you really haven't got a lot of license to change much. There are some things you can do, and this car will have a few really nice touches, but you really have to balance that. On the outside, you know, a lot of people flare, etc. You know, and that's fine. It's their own car, but we don't offer flared packages.
I've seen some 356 kind of like kits and stuff.
They
don't need the big.
I think
some people
like it.
Too much over the top.
Yeah, some people like it, and that's cool. But
how wide is this car roughly?
You know, I couldn't.
I can almost put my hands across it. Which these days cars are like 2 meters wide.
It's not. Yeah, well, the table is 2 meters wide, so it would only be probably about 1.7, something like that. And we've kept that the same. We run a wider rim, as I mentioned earlier. But you know, the carbon itself, fit, finish, the gapping, the stability of the systems, you know, we're so happy in the way everything closes. You know, it's been a journey. It's been a journey.
So I know that given you some customization, but if you could say roughly how much does a client look at for one of these completely?
It really depends. There is a lot of options, etc. And, you know, being built under certain regulations, the clients, you know, can supply, they supply an engine through one of our partners, you know, because this is built under ICV regulations. So the client gets involved in this process. This is not a turnkey car. It's not the way it works. You know, and the owner of this car is over every 2 weeks. You know, they're coming in all the time, which is awesome. We build a great relationship with the clients. Doesn't matter on their background, but when these vehicles finish, they know everything about it. You know, they've been on the journey, they've participated. It's a really, really unique opportunity.
And I can understand why people look at these today. Like we have a good friend of ours who's ordered one of these, and they have a mixture of different sports cars: Aston Martin, a GT4, a GT4 RS, an Elise, and they're looking basically for a vintage car.
Yeah.
They looked at like Porsche 911 turbos and some other cars, and then obviously with that they were thinking, the maintenance it's going to be that they're worried about, the reliability, etc., etc. But this feels, for a person with a number of other different vehicles to drive, this feels like this extra gap of beauty, but also like being able to enjoy something that's reliable, very serviceable.
Air conditioning, heated seats. You know, you've got.
But it's going to look exactly like a 356 on the interior.
Correct.
Jason, you were just telling me about the classic reduced size windscreen on the Speedster.
Of a Speedster, yeah.
If you wanted to get an original one of these, you were saying...
Yeah, if you're doing a restoration on a Speedster and you want to get a brass window frame, brand new, you'd be spending $7,000, $8,000, $9,000. So, you know, we've tooled up our own glass, has Renner etched on it, it's all ADR compliant, it's all, you know, marked correctly. These are 3D printed, they're coming in machined brass. So we're making all these components, you know, the whole wiper mechanism. The originals didn't have auto parking, multiple speed, ours do. I must say they're not the most useful wipers. They're quite small.
It's going to be sunny. It's going to be a sunny
It's
day.
a sunny car. I've been in the downpour because you have a hard top option with these cars. This car comes with a hard top as well, this one.
Okay,
But yeah, when it's raining, they're like little classic wipers. They're just multi-speed. So I wouldn't really say that they're a hype, but that is what they came with, you know. So, you know, really getting all of these details done perfectly, all the way down to, you know, the proper bar with the proper fitting. The mirror's not there, but we use the proper mirror. Halo headlights. This is all restoration quality parts. They're not replica parts. So it really completes the vehicle, down to the bumper systems, you know. We use like restoration quality steel bumpers on the Gen 1, which is also on the coupe over there. And they're a beautiful thing. Bumpers on a Speedster are painted, they're not chromed. But again, in terms of the weight saving, you know, this is less than a kilo. It's insane how light these bumpers are out of carbon. And even the brackets, the irons that hold them, the Gen 1s had the original steel irons. These are all in aluminium to try and save a bit more mass.
I can see them,
So,
the attention to detail is just incredible.
At every level.
These lights are beautiful.
And if you look under the bonnet, you know, the fuel tanks.
How big is the fuel tank?
That is about just under 50 litres, I think.
Okay, plenty.
Yeah. So we use like an original tank, but obviously fuel pumps, EFI, so we have an in-tank MRA, but all the latches, original Porsche style latches. These are expensive attributes that you fill up the fuel, so you see this. So for us, popping the bonnet and having the right patterning on the inside, you know, the correct OE seal, the right underneath bonnet shapes, the right hinges, is just as important as the right headlights. So we've worked so hard to really get that level of accuracy. And in here, there's all carbon panels on the bottom here as well. So when you put your luggage in, it's not getting hot. You know, there's quite a bit more storage in these cars for us because we fit a radiator up the front. And yet there's room for all of this. We can actually put a spare tyre in here, which is pretty unique.
Nice.
So
I can't imagine just how much thought process has gone behind.
There's a hell of a lot of engineering. Yeah. And you also have the carbon panels which are coming are in here, and then here you've got your billet aluminium anodized coilover adjusters, and each client can choose a different colour there. They're all marked for stiffer, softer. So when you pop it up, it's sort of like a bit of a juxtaposition of original classic and real modern performance-related tech. I really like that mix.
I can't wait to see a finished car. It's going to be incredible. So where, I guess, what would you call this room? Design?
Yeah, well, this is where we do a lot of our design. We've got a few 3D printers.
Some enormous ones?
Yeah, a lot of people are pretty familiar with 3D printing. You know, you learn it at school. You've got fairly small units. This is one 3D print. So these are sort of larger format 3D prints. They don't take a day. They take longer than a day. But this is really key. These machines have been key for us in bridging the design to practical tool making or jigs and fixtures within the business. So being able to really get these parts printed at accuracy, which is a big challenge. We've spent a lot of time on this process, but to be able to print at accuracy in a reasonable time frame at a manageable cost was key to us creating all of these vehicle bodies. Not only the Speedster, but the SL, you know.
Yeah.
So these machines have been invaluable. They tend to run all the time because something like this is not a one-day print.
No.
You know, this might be a 8-day print, you know. So
Okay,
these machines need to run reliably for a long period of time and print a lot of parts to get an outcome. So yeah, it's you know, we do work for other companies as well. So the machines are not common. So some of the V8 supercar teams and stuff, we've been producing parts for a number of people, and we enjoy that because you get a bit of a change.
Yeah, and you do some bespoke work for people on the side as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Speedsters.
These machines were critical. You know, we have a lot of 3D printed tooling that enable us to achieve that. In the past, they have a lot of those, you know, the wooden bucks you see historically. So we really stepped it up and digitally merged, you know, 3D printing to traditional coach building techniques. And I'm so proud of the outcome. It's just turning out really, really well.
Design-wise, what can you tell me about the processes you're going through behind you? Looks very detailed and interesting.
Yeah. So there's really two aspects to it. There's a lot of mechanical design, so chassis, bearings, engine placement, and we exclusively use SolidWorks, a number of stations of it. And what you can see here is really the whole chassis design, suspension design, how all of the cooling systems, how the engine's packaged. It's really a very in-depth study and design process. The number of hours invested in that is huge, but the rewards it generates when you build the car, everything fits, everything's serviceable. You alluded to that. It really is the only way to go. And it's, you know, it's what people do at the OE level. Doing that at a lower volume level is obviously quite costly, but it really is both enjoyable and the only way to do it. So we've got very much a mechanical package, and then we have a whole different skill set, which is the vehicle styling and surfacing. And as we said earlier, the shape of these vehicles is so iconic that we start with scans of original vehicles, which we mentioned. That process from scanning an original vehicle and trying to to redesign that vehicle to be far more accurate, but communicate that designer's direction back in the 50s is really the challenge. We spend a lot of time making seriously thousands of choices regarding this radius, this curve, to really get that car perfect, but not lose the essence of the designer's vision back in the 50s. And here you can see basically, you know, every detail on soft top frame, how the windscreen interfaces with the frame. So there's real detailed styling decisions there, all the way to the SL styling, which, you know, it's been years in developing that. That body it doesn't look complex, but the curves, the bonnet treatment, and the way that we get the shadows and reflections to work throughout that body has been a big investment in effort. And Paul and the team have done a great job in generating that over the last year or so.
So that was the video with the Renner Speedster, guys. Just a truly beautiful thing to look at, and beautiful to see such a small sports car on the road. The next time you see us at Renner Auto, we'll be looking at the second generation delivery of our friend's car, and that is truly exciting. So thank you very much for watching. If you're interested in any extra details on Renner Auto, I'll put their link in the comment section below. This is Driver 88, and we'll see you next time.